Lights, camera, action. Welcome to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut. And welcome back to the Scrapbook Podcast, Director's Cut. This is your host, Jody Pratt, with my fellow host and guest,
Sunflower.
What's happening? You know, the Director's Cut is Patrick and I bringing original stories that we've come up with all by ourselves, which is pretty much the opposite of the fucking Scrapbook, in which we on the spot create stories. You know what I'm saying? But Director's Cut is definitely its own thing, and they are not cohesive in any other sense. The stories aren't together. There's some that come together, but we would say that. We would stipulate that. But so this is called Kristen's Smile, right? And it takes place during the 40 days of Lent. We have Kristen O'Leonardy. And Kristen O'Leonardy comes from a big Irish fucking family. Big as fuck. It takes place in Maine, right? And Kristen is one of 7 kids.
Oof.
You know what I mean? They come from a hard-working Maine family.
Yeah.
They boat. There's nothing but fishermen, shit like that. She's the only one to leave the town. Everybody else stayed behind and all that shit like that. So the only reason why she came back, or the only reason why she left, was to go to Maine's School of Law, right? And it has to do with the tragedy and the mystery behind her father disappearing. And her father was a captain of a boat. It was called Kristen's Smile. Kristen is the youngest of all 7 children. And not only did he disappear, which his name is Patrick O'Leonardy, John, his second hand, John Lynetta, Mark McHoulihan, sorry about that, Daniel Gaff, Dustin Gonzalez, and Wade Marks. They all disappeared that day, right? So let me clear something up. This happened past shit. She graduated 9 years after the disappearance of her father. So she's been festering on this, and it changed the course of her life to go in this direction. So she leaves, and she's gone for 3 years, 4 years, knocked it out. She was gone straight and never came back home. But when she did come back home, which is when she just graduated,
right,
everybody found excuses not to go to her graduation. Oh, we got to take care of the family, you know what I mean? We got kids, we got this and that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The money's not going to make itself. We don't have time to go to, fancy smashy school kind of thing. So everybody's kind of resenting her in that fact. Her mom is proud but sad that she left in such a way. But she had to do what she had to do. So she left at like 18, came back 9 years later. So do the math on that. No. Sorry about that. I apologize. It's 9 years since it happened. So let's say it happened when she was 12. She came back 22, 23 years old. But to make it very, very clear.
Right.
So she's about 23 years old. And her mother, her name is Shannon. Patrick Jr. is her oldest brother. He's a police officer. Then we have Sean, a crab fisherman. Connor, a crab fisherman. Ryan, a mechanic. Erin, she's a crab fisherman. And Mav. And she owns a small restaurant. Hard working class people. And their little sister is a lawyer. They come back and she gets snide remarks all the way through and shit like that. Her going to church, like the very first day she gets back, she gets picked up by her brother, Patrick Jr. I apologize. Patrick Jr. hardly says anything about it, tries to read her and who she is now as a grown woman, and kind of plays around with her. And he's like, hey, just a fair warning, you're going to get a lot of shit, you know. And tomorrow's the start of Lent, so maybe they can change their, you know, their ways and not give you such a, you know, shit run.
Yeah.
So she's like, you know, I understand that. So she comes in, everybody's like in the house and they're just like, oh, you know, surprise. Like they surprise her and shit. You know, the dinner, she'd welcome back inside the house. Mom is just like, oh, like crying and weeping and shit like that. Grandma's there, grandpa's there. And, like when she walks in, she sees like this big ass painting picture of her dad. And she's like, damn, that's just like when I was fucking 13 and somebody gave that to us. It's still in my memory and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it brings her right back to memories of her and her dad being together and shit like that, and steering the boat, and her mom telling her, like, you know, get off that boat type of thing.
Yeah.
And so it progresses. There's one more dinner to kind of feed into your desires before Lent starts, because you got to give up something during Lent. So people are just like, their diets are changing and shit like that. So this is their last night. And the next day they go to church. People are giving her the cold shoulder because they're like, you think you're better than us type of thing.
Yeah.
And then the car was snapped back to the car, her riding with her brother. And she says, the only reason why I came back is to figure out what happened to Dad. That's the only reason why. And he's like, good luck. So immediately after the first mass that they do, because everybody obviously is Catholic.
Yeah.
They, you know, go their separate ways and shit like that. She's getting shit from people throughout the town and stuff like that. But she begins her hunt. She opens up her fresh ass notepad and starts getting to work immediately. So the next day she surprises her brother at work. It's like, oh, can I talk to Officer Patrick, you know, O'Leonardy. And he's at his table, like, you know, catching up on paperwork. And she just sits down with him. She's like, I need Dad's files. I need all the files on the case, blah, 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 like that. And he's like, man, like, what are you doing here? She's like, I just fucking told you I need the case files. He's like, well, I can't hand it to you unless you get this or that. You know, she was like, don't you want this to, you know, subside? Don't you want to know? And he's like looking around and people are just kind of like mugging, staring. And he's just like, shh, shut the fuck up. And he's like, I can't tell you shit. Like, just give me some time and I'll get it done. Point you in the right direction. But start at the boat. She's like, the boat? You guys still have the boat? And he's just like, the owner of the harbor never got rid of the boat. And she's like, bet, I'll start there. Goes down to the harbor. And slowly she starts to get flashbacks of what happened. You know what I'm saying? And it brings her back to the town, like walking through the harbor gates and shit like that. And walking up the steps and getting flashbacks of her dad and shit like that. And obviously through setups, you know what happened. So they just find the boat floating in the harbor. And they tug both that bitch back in. And they see nobody's on there. It looks like a commotion happened. A few bullet holes, and then that's it. No, nowhere else. Nothing else. So she talks to the harbor owner, and he's just like, "Oh, Kristen, you look so beautiful. Like, I'm sorry I missed mass, and usually I say hello to your mother and shit like that. But just been real hurt for money over here, so we have to be doing little jobs and some this and that. I hope you understand." She's like, "It's okay, that's fine. I want to look at the boat." And he's like, looks out the window. You know what I mean? Looks to the blinds. And he like hands her the keys to the shit. He's just like, it's right over there. Barnacles all over the shit. She's like, "Thank you so much. And he's just like, you look just like your dad. Like, God. And she's like, got this flaming ass red hair, these deep ass blue eyes, just like her dad. And she goes over there and, unlocks the little, it's fenced in. Mm-hmm. So she unlocks the gate to that shit. It's still on the water though. And barnacles all over it, shit, seagull shit all over it. And she goes in there and she's like looking, just seeing, because she's never been in there. But she remembers she's never been in there after the incident.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking in there. She's like peering on the walls and shit like that, like seeing anything that would stand out to her. And then she got on the phone. No. Then she got a phone call. Sorry about that. She got a phone call, and it's Patrick, her brother. And he's just like, I looked at the files and there's nothing in there. Nothing at all. But if you can bring in something with, some DNA or something like that, and whatever you find, because I know where you're at.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start there. You know what I'm saying? I gotta go. Bye. Hangs up the shit before she can even ask a question. So she's looking in places. Now she has a task, because before she was just looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all these memories are flooding back, cutting back and forth and shit. And the sounds of the horns of the boats are like making her flinch a little bit, because she's like, damn, it's been fucking a long time since I've, been back. So she's looking behind things, and behind this little mini refrigerator that's clearly hasn't been moved out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Behind it, it's on the wall. It's blood, right? Very, very dry blood. Obviously. So she moves it out the way, and it's clear that somebody wiped it down. And that's where they stopped. Their laziness made them not pull it back and wipe it down. And then she's like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, let me see something. Like, she uses her sleeves as makeshift gloves and looking around and grabs a butt of a cigarette and kind of like dips it in water and like rubs the blood on it and finds a cup and puts it in the cup and shit like that. She's like, oh, DNA evidence.
Yeah.
Boom. Like, we're in this bitch. We'll find out whose blood this is, and then off the cigarettes, because she noticed as she's leaving the boat, she's like, my dad never smoked, never allowed smoking on the fucking boat.
Mm-hmm.
That's his number one rule. Because I have asthma. He didn't want there to be any sort of remnants of smoke that would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had Kristen in mind. That's why she was named after the boat. I mean, that's why, vice versa.
Yes.
The boat was named after her.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, gives him a call back. And he's just like, hey, Patrick, I have, you know what I mean? There's blood in there. He's like, he's just listening. He's like, and he's kind of like talking to somebody else. He's like, yeah, I have the files down there, blah, blah, don't worry about it. He's like, oh, okay. And he's like whispering to her, like, get the fuck out of here. Are you serious? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, he's getting intrigued by the shit too. So from there, she's like, so what's the name of the guy that I'm looking for? And it's just like, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Lynn. He's down there. He's the head of CSI, shit.
Yeah.
He'll test whatever you have. He walks in there, and she walks in there. Kristen walks in to the office. She leaves the harbor, obviously. Walks into the office, and then you see Kevin Lynn, like, flirting with the receptionist. You know what I mean? Like, over sexual. He has a lollipop. He's, like, licking on and shit like that, and making her, like, giggle and shit. And she recognizes the receptionist as somebody, like a old friend that married a friend
Yeah.
type of thing. She's like, oh, bitch, you're married. Like, they meet eyes, and she's like, oh. You know what I mean? Gets the fuck up. And when she gets up and notices Kristen, she dips. And Kevin turns around, like, just sloppily and just seedy, in a seedy way. And he's like, oh, Patrick said you're coming down here. You know what I'm saying? Got a lollipop in his mouth. He was like, you want some? No. And it's like a fucking, it's like gross, right? It's kind of like a THC lollipop or like a fentanyl lollipop or some weird shit like that. Mm-hmm. And he was like, they go in the back. He's like, all right, what you got for me? And she gives him like a cup. And he's like, what is this? He's like, there's blood on the cigarette butt. And he's just like, it looks like it's sitting in coffee. I can't do anything with this. And if there was any, the DNA, you know, it can't be extracted from blood that's not, you know, blah, 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 like that. Didn't you graduate from, like, law school? You know what I'm saying? She's like, I only minored in, you know what I mean?
Forensics.
And he was like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, shit. Fuck, that's embarrassing as fuck. So she goes, like, that's a dead end. She has nothing.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Patrick. And Patrick's just like, hey, like, what did the fuck? Like, catches, like, are so, instead of going to the local police department where Patrick was last time, he's, like, driving around now doing his beat. And she, like, knocks on his door. Like, oh, he almost spills his coffee. He's smacking on the donut and shit like that. And he's just like, dead end. Like, I didn't have anything. And he's like, didn't you? He's like, yeah. I minored in forensics. I don't have everything. You know what I mean? It's like what next? And shit like that. And he was like, the last person to see Dad and everybody was at the bar. And she was like, oh, I should have known. Like, he always does like a ritualistic thing. He drinks. They all share a drink before they go out. Mm-hmm. And he was like, thanks, Pat. And like smacks his chest or something, or like pats him on, like backhands his face. You know what I mean? He like gives a chuckle and rolls up the window and shit. So the bartender, she goes in there. The bar's not even open, obviously. It's about, I want to say 12 o'clock, 11. And she goes to talk to the bar owner. And he's like, oh, Kristen, like, you know what I mean? He wasn't at mass either because he's waiting for all the sinners. He's kind of pissed off because his business is going to go down during these 40 days. Yeah. He's used to it, but he still resents it, you know. And he's like, I saw your dad that night. She asked him a bunch of questions, like, you know, when's the last time you saw him? Like, what kind of state of mind was he in? Was anybody following him? Like what's going on? Do you think any of these guys had it out for my dad? Maybe they, like, killed him and disappeared, or maybe they all disappeared. Like, what was going on? He's like, no, everybody was fine that night. Your dad was jovial as always. He was, you know what I mean? He was that guy like he always is. Nothing seemed off about him whatsoever. But he brings her in a little bit close, you know, the finger wave inside. And he's like, I gotta say, ever since everybody on that boat disappeared, Father Gaff came in every single year on the day that they disappeared. And he had a drink. Every year. And it's during this time, this Lent time. So the bar's empty. He's the only person in there. So maybe not. She's like, huh. So she goes to talk to Father Gaff. And she's in there. And he's doing, you know, paperwork, signing shit, signing people's souls away or whatever the fuck priests do. Yeah. And he goes, he's like, I can't talk to you here. You know, talk to me inside the confessional. So they sit in the confessional, like old school style, like you know what I mean? I'm trying to bring it back there. And she's like, what do you know? What happened? What happened to your brother? And he was like Daniel never fucking hurt a soul. Your father took care of him every year. When my parents found out that the fatherhood wasn't for him, you know what I mean? Like, he told him that the fatherhood wasn't for him. They kind of disowned him, but he slept here many nights, and the nights he didn't, your dad let him sleep on the boat, and he just stole away money and shit like that. And he was gonna get a boat of his own, but he was loyal to your father and stuff like that. I've heard many things sitting here in this confessional, and I'm not supposed to tell you, but these certain things, but what gave me unrest was knowing that Mayor Lanata has something to do with this. And she's like, all right, bet. Like, that's all you have to say. You don't have to say what he said in here, but you know what I mean? And he's fearing something. He goes on, you know what I'm saying? Fear made him do certain things that, you know, that men do when they're chasing glory.
Yeah.
The fear of failing, but the fear of winning. What's going to happen when you get that championship belt wrapped around your waist? Everybody's gunning for you. So what would you do to keep it? So she's like, damn. Okay. So a couple of days, like, so since the bar owner, Father Gaff, and now she's off to the mayor's office, which takes a couple of days to go through. Now it's about, Lent is about 25 days in now, right? Then she finally gets a meeting with Mayor Lanata. And Lanata's just like busy as fuck. She goes in there, he's like putting on his tie. He's like, what can I help you with? And he's just like, I'm Kristen. He's like, Kristen, what's your name? You know what I mean? Who are you? Who's your family? And he's like, Leonardy. Like, that's what he's like. He kind of freezes a little bit. And he's like, stops in the mirror and looks at her because she's standing behind him, right? Looks at the mirror and sees her. And he's like, I should have known by the, you know what I mean, the blue eyes. You know what I mean? Like, what can I do you for? And she's like, I want to know what you know about Kristen Smile. And he's just like, you know what I mean? I thought we already dealt with this. You know what I mean? She's like, we haven't dealt with anything. There's no case files on this. There's no anything like that. And it kind of goes back and forth like Barb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's up in the ante. And he's just like, you wouldn't know what to do if the bull comes into your China shop and starts fucking shit up, would you? You wouldn't know what the fuck to do if you had, you know, motherfuckers banging on your door. Nobody gave me a scholarship, sweetheart. Nobody gave me a keys to the fucking car. I had to get this myself. And if these little motherfuckers have to, you know what I mean, have to pay the price for a finger getting pointed at them, hey, that's them. You know, I can't do shit. And like, and he's talking, and his receptionist is just like, Mayor, the phone. Because the phone's been ringing, so obviously. And he answers the phone, and he just like, pushes her away.
Yeah.
And she's like going through the shit like, what the fuck? Going through her mind like, what does he mean by this? Like all the pressure and shit like that. And he's like waving her off like, push, get the fuck out. And he's like, wait. And he finished the phone call and shit like that. And tells the receptionist to get the fuck out of the room. And he's like, I only told, like something in his heart is like pulling at this nigga, right?
Yeah.
I only fingered the direction my little cousin was in. They were going to fucking kill me, right? They wanted his head. He was a fucking second cousin. I didn't think anything of it. I pointed in the direction he was in. He had a few accusations against him. He owed a little bit of money. He wasn't going to get in the way of my glory. And if anything, you know what I mean? If anything, I don't know what happened to him after that. But when he disappeared, good riddance. Good riddance. Right? Wipes his hand of him. And she's just like, what in the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know, are you saying it was the mob? Are you saying it was this or that? He was like, how the fuck do you think I got here? I had to grease elbows. I had to, you know what I'm saying? I had to do this and that. You don't know what it's like to struggle like us. We had to stay here. You left. We had to deal with the muck and the mire. We had to do all this shit. And it was cool for you to leave. And you want to come back like Miss, I can figure out fucking everything. You ain't no fucking superhero. There ain't no fucking superheroes here. It's only villains. And she's like, oh, nigga. You know what I mean? Like, oh, shit.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah. And he's like, I have a peace of mind about who I am. And it seems like you need it too. I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. But the person who can give you the answers, he's in Rikers right now. Now, if you look up, you know what I'm saying? He goes by the name No Face. And she's like, wow, this was riveting. So you know what I mean? Like, she's like, thank you, Mr. Mayor. She's like waves her off again. Like, fuck off. So she goes back to her brother like, nigga, you don't believe what the fuck I nigga. And he's just like, so what do you want to do with this? Because I'm with you. I've been trying to figure out Dad's death this whole time. And I've gotten not nearly as far as you. You know what I'm saying? He's like, do you know a No Face? And he's just like, you mean fucking Shane McShire, fucking no face. Mm-hmm. Like the hitman for the Irish mob, No Face. And she was like, I guess so. Like, who the fuck? And he's like, okay, like, let's go. And she's like, you're not coming with me? He's like, yes, the fuck I am. And so they go out and she's like, you can't be dressed like that. You look like a fucking cop. Look at your mustache. He has like a fucking high top fade with a mustache and shit like that. Got a big ass belly. He was like, I need for you to get dressed. Like, let's go shopping. Fucking, they go shopping together. And she has, you know what I mean? Got the pea coat and the fucking heels and shit. I'm an attorney. You're my assistant. So here, like, tosses her his purse, and they make the drive from Maine to New York. And the whole time, she just, like, talking to herself and shit like that. Puts on, like, you know, puts on fucking Sebastian Bach. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what the fuck? So she says it in a way. Just remember that. She says it in a way. I'm a lawyer. I'm an attorney. You're my assistant, okay? So they go in there. And they get a meeting with No Face, right? Because he hasn't had anybody come see him.
Yeah.
And he's on the fucking, he's sitting there. And he's like, has a shit-eating grin on his face. He's just staring there deep into her eyes and shit like that. And he's like licking his lips, teeth all fucking brown and shit. And she's just like, you can keep looking at me or we're gonna get down to business. He was like, who the fuck are you? No Face says. He's like, I'm an attorney from, you know what I mean, Maine. I'm gonna try to reduce your sentence. She's doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
She's straightening her voice out. I'm gonna try to get you less of a sentence. He was like, do you know what the fuck I'm in here for? And she's just like, murder. He's like, you don't know the half of it. Just cold in his eyes. Nothing. Receiving nothing. He don't give a fuck about none of that shit. And he's just like, okay, since you're already in here, I can just make it sweeter for you. A little bit of honey buns here, a little bit of Oreos there. And he was just like, I got a little something else in mind. And Patrick is just like, hey. And she like, shut the fuck up. Like, let this nigga just talk. Because the moment you talk, he's going to know you're a fucking cop.
Yeah.
He gives it, and then No Face gives him a bit of a squint. And he was like, do I know you? And she's like, anything you want. You don't got to worry about it. If you want to feel, you can get a feel. And he's just like, now you're talking my language. So what you want to know? You know what I mean? These motherfuckers left me in here. They sent me away. They left me in here. I haven't seen nobody in years. What happened on, you know what I mean, on the boat? He was like, the boat? Like, why did you kill, you know what I mean? Like, who'd you kill on the boat? He was like, there's been many boats, many deaths, a lot of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, it was a crab boat. He's like, oh. See, that was a fishy one, you see. We was looking for one motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. That grimy piece of shit. No, not Daniel, sorry. I'm trying to get into character and shit. Let me see. What the fuck was his name?
Lanada?
Yeah, Lanada, but I want to get his first name. I'm going to cut all this shit out. That grimy piece of shit, John Lanada. That's all we were going for. But the weasel wanted to sneak away and do different shit. You see, we followed him into a bar. And we couldn't get him there because he was drinking with a whole bunch of red-haired Mick motherfuckers. So we were going to wait until he came out. Because you see, he owed us a bunch of money. You know, the trick of the dice. Some people are lucky, some people aren't. But he didn't know when to quit. But the money's okay. You can pay back money. But one thing he was accused of was touching a made man's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Now, comes to find out, somebody just saw them canoodling together and whatnot. And she pointed the finger and said it was rape when it wasn't. We didn't know that until later. So, hey, you know, some people are wrong, some people are right. You know what I mean? So, but we didn't know that until after. You know, hindsight's 20/20 in that way. So we follow him from the bar to the harbor. And we saw them all pack in there. So we had to be quick on our feet. I was with, you thought I was going to say a name. I'll tell what I did. Hey, anybody else? I don't know. So let's say 2-3 other guys were with me. When they leave to go catch those delicious Maine crabs. Oh, God. Miss those motherfuckers. We'd follow them on the boat. And we'd get on the boat. And when they'd stop, we'd hop on. Get John. Hop right off. That's all we had to do. But a motherfucker that looks just like you, sweetheart, wanted to be a fucking hero. We start to fight, you know what I mean? He got the best of me a little bit, but you know the great equalizer, he holds up his fucking, you know, finger. Pow. Took 2 to get him down. He was a 45. Man was a beast. What can I say? So one person wanted to fight, more wanted to fight, and more. But you know the one thing about us, we got enough bullets for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Pow, 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 pow. But we got John. We got the money he was holding. He showed us where the location. He didn't show us where the location was. He pointed to the location where it was. Everybody got stuffed in a bait trap where the crabs are at, thrown right over the boat. We turned the engine on the boat, pushed it, jumped into the water, and we were supposed to go into the great abyss on what the ocean is. But currents and whatnot brought it right back the fuck around to the harbor and boom.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And she's sitting there, Kristen is, and Patrick is livid and shaking. And she puts her hand on Patrick's hand, which was like balled up fist. And she like pats it. And she's like, thank you. Like, thank you. He was like, what? And then got up. And what about that feel, sweetheart? You know what I mean? She's like walking away. And she was like, feel this. And like grabs like she's got a dick. Feel this.
Grabs her crotch.
Yeah, exactly. And Patrick's holding like her purse and shit like that. And he's like flipping them off and shit like that. And there's no evidence that can prove this. So that's why she was okay with just words being words.
Mm-hmm.
She believed him, and that was the truth. It was just happenstance. Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Her dad was just being her dad. He saw people get on his boat and got into the way of some action that he didn't need to and got shot. And hopefully he was killed then and there and didn't feel him being pushed into the fucking
crab trap.
The crab traps and dropped into the ocean. You know what I mean? And then consumed by crabs.
Or drowning. Exactly.
So they get into the car and they're weeping together.
Yeah.
And she starts to weep into like hysterical laughter and back into weeping, just complete shock.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Patrick, I have to tell you something. You know what I'm saying? Like in the bits of laughter, like now she's laughing because this shit is, she's like, I graduated from art school. I'm a theater major. I got there one semester of law school. Didn't understand shit. And he's cracking the fuck up. He's like, no fucking way. She's like, yeah. I'm a theater major and I graduated with a minor in, you know what I mean? Makeup and prosthetics and shit. Costume. Let's say that. And he's just like, get the fuck out. And like, he's hysterically laughing now too, like wiping the tears from his eyes. And he was like, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't tell anybody. He was like, don't fucking worry about it. And they like pinky promised each other. And they drove home to Maine and shit like that. And this would be like the last day of Lent. And that shit is Christian smile. How do you like that?
That was great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Kind of rounded out a little bit.
No, yeah, it was very straightforward.
Did you know where it was going?
No, not really.
Yeah.
No, I thought there was going to be a lot more to it, like, suspect-wise. But, like, you know, when the mayor got involved, I was like, oh, okay, the mayor's going to get involved. And then either he did it or it was going to go to someone else. But, like, the ending was like, oh, shit.
Okay. Yeah. It wasn't because there was no clear suspects.
Yeah, right.
They didn't even have a fucking file on this shit. You know what I mean? They had like an empty folder in there. And that's what, you know, what's what.
No one bothered to really do any type of digging.
Yeah.
So.
Not at all. You know, but How you like that?
It was good.
It was good?
Yeah.
It was cool.
I would like the mayor to be Joe Pesci. I'm just saying that now.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's Joe Pesci?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. And who's that redhead? McAdams.
Oh, Rachel McAdams.
I want Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, that would be pretty
but
cool.
But she got to put on a little bit of makeup because she got to be a 23-year-old. But or if she can be even older. I'm okay with changing this shit up. $200,000, nigga. But yeah, that was Kristen's Smile. Obviously, this is the first draft. I feel like my stories are, pretty decent.
Yeah.
It takes so much to write this shit out. When I get it, my laptop, wink, wink, I'm going to start, shelling shit out and knocking it out. Maybe like 6 pages a week kind of thing, And, become a short story writer and submit them to, competitions and shit. But, yeah, what would you rate that?
Out of 10, I'd rate it a...
and then comparing it to all my other, like, mysteries, you know what I mean? That joint with the... his best friend is a former PI, and he cut the riddle to remember or something like that. Yeah.
This one would be a 6.5.
6.5? Oh, nigga.
It's a high 6 to a 7.
Yeah. But 6.5, 6
but it's interesting though. So
yeah, in comparison to the other shit that I made,
because this is straightforward. There is not a lot of beating around the bush in this one. That's why.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not a bad thing at all. At least you're not lower. You know what I mean? It could be 1 through 4.
What is like one of my worst? Not, you don't have to name it, but one of my worst
I don't think
point system. This would be the worst one.
No. That's the thing. You guys, as in you and Patrick, or just you guys have like good stories in mind, concepts, and I wouldn't rate them lower than like a 5. But there's no 5 yet. Okay. Just because.
Just wait. We got Slap 2 coming, baby. Fuck. All right, thanks for being honest, babe. I appreciate that. Wait till you hear this African American joint. You're gonna be like, "This is trash, nigga." But yeah, I want to, record more with you and shit. So, but boom, pow, how you like me now? That was the Scrapbook Director's Cut. This was Kristen's Smile. I am Jody Pratt with my fellow host
Sunflower.
We love you. Don't stop being creative. Peace.
Bye.
Follow us on everything. TheScrapbookPodcast.com. That's soon. TheScrapbookPodcast at gmail.com.
Manifest.
The Scrapbook Podcast everywhere. We're going to be doing merchandise whenever the fuck y'all start listening more. But that's okay. I love you. Don't stop being creative. Peace.